Okay, so we found out JRise YouTube page. There are a few very good tutorial. One of them is learn Docker in 12 minutes, and I found another one which is the Docker Compose in 12 minutes. So let's do this one.
In the first video, we learned that an image is a template for the environment that you want to run. And when you run an image, you get a container. We tried this out by running a PHP image. This was okay for our very simple application, but imagine if you have something more complicated. Let's work through an example. Traditionally, a big website, like an online store, would be one big application, but a newer trend is to split these big applications up into smaller microservices. The website can then be quite minimal, and it just makes calls to other services to get information or to ask them to do some piece of work. We're going to build a really simple e-commerce website, but we're going to put the code that provides the products and the product information in its own microservice. The website will then use an API on the product service to request the list of products to show to the customer. Something I touched on at the end of the last video is how you should only have one process per container, so each container should provide a single service. For this, we'll want one container running the website and one container running the product service. This should be independent. This means that they can be written in different languages, but they do need to be able to talk to each other, but we'll get to that bit later. Let's start with the product service. I'm going to build this using Python. I'm going to create a new directory for this service called product. And in here I'm going to write a very simple Python script. I'll call it api.py. Remember, this is not a Python tutorial, so this is just going to be a very quick example. So this is going to be the product service. I want this to be a simple RESTful API, so I'm going to import Flask and Flask RESTful and instantiate these objects. Then I'm going to have a product class which extends resource, and this is just going to have a get method which will return some JSON. So we want to sell some ice cream, some chocolate, and we'll be healthy and sell some fruit as well. I'm going to add the routing at the bottom, and then finally just some code to run the application. Listening on port 80 with debug turned on. Obviously a real API would return a lot more data than this. It would be a lot more thought out and a lot better in general, but this will do. Since I've used Flask and Flask RESTful, I'm going to add these to a requirements.txt file. So this is a list of dependencies. Pip can then use this file to install everything. This is not specific to Docker, this is just a Python thing. But now let's get this running in a Docker container. First I'm going to make a Docker file. Remembering back to the previous video, the first line needs to use the from keyword to specify a base image that we'll then build on top of. There is an official Python image that we can use, we just want the latest version of Python, and you'll notice it has these on build tags. It explains further down the page that these ones automatically install requirements from the requirements.txt file. This sounds very useful for us. The source code into the image expects. Then we need to give this a command to run when it starts. I'm using the command keyword and then this weird array-like syntax. We can tell it to run Python and any subsequent elements. Builds to create an image out of the steps defined in the containers, and running our service do this one configuration up. Start by specifying the version of the compose file format. We do version :
Okay, so oh my god. So let's create a directory, and I'll create one, not the Webpack one, but yeah, I can create one. Maybe say Docker Compose in 12 minutes, and we get into it. Docker's Compose in 12 minutes, and
let's start with the product service. I'm going to build this using Python. I'm going to create a new directory for this service called product.
So we first need to create a service called products. so it will become its own service.
And in here I'm going to write a very simple Python script. I'll call it api.py. Remember, this is not a Python tutorial.
Okay, so inside we need to create a very simple Python script called api.py.
So this is just going to be a very quick example. So this is going to be the product service, product class, which extends some chocolate list.
Okay, so let's copy up the code and so api.py. So so we first import flag from flag we import flag. So what's flag? Let's Google it. What is flag? Python in this flag is a web framework with tools and libraries and tools to build them. So the web framework means that provide you with tools, libraries, and things. It can be some page. Okay, there's public category or micro framework. Right. Because sometimes you have to do actual work. Okay. So it's a framework. So the first guy we use flag, and the second line we say is RESTful. Dot for we say is RESTful from flag and API. And here we make instead of the apps so just underscore them, so what it means Python's name when is the name of the school in which the top level goes. Basically you have the two ways of using parameter as a sweep or imported when a module its name is set to main. So basically it's name and main kind of the same thing. So if you talk about this file, name is this app, and we instance the API as well. API app. Now the app becomes API. We have a class called product. We have resource. So defines get self. So we define a function. And then we return stuff. So return some JSON, products key, and then we array ice cream, chocolate X, and fruit. And then API dot add source. So we dump the class inside it, and I think this is kind of like the URL thing. If name equal name, then we run app.run. Host is 0.0.0. So remember, this call is running inside the Docker instance.
Listening on port 80 with debug turned on. Obviously, a real API would return a lot more data than this. It would be a lot more thought out.
So what we do here is port 18 and debug equal true. Okay, so we save it.
And a lot better in general, but this will do. Since I've used Flask all everything. This is not specific to Docker, this is just...
So we need to make the requirements.txt. So .txt. So we have Python's requirements.txt. So basically it's like dependency. To make sure I do the right thing. Okay, so what's
just a Python thing. But now let's get this running in a Docker.
So in the requirements we have flags version, which is 0.12, and RESTful, and you can see it's uppercase, and this will have lowercase. RESTful equal 0.3.5
container. First, I'm going to make a Docker file. Remembering back to the previous video, the first line needs to use the...
So we need to touch Docker file
from keyword to specify a base image that we'll then build on top of. There is an officially installed requirements from the requirements.txt file. This we want to copy and use so we can tell it to run Python and any Docker. We do Docker builds to create an image out of the steps to...
So Docker file will be from, so using Python 3 on build, and we copy refer to apps. User source app. Send this Python's API.py. I think I need to move Docker file outside it.
Find in the Docker file, and then we do Docker run and add some various arguments to specify ports and mount volumes. But you might find this gets a bit tedious, and as we add more containers, running more of our services, building and starting each one separately, and making sure they can communicate is just a pain. This is where Docker Compose comes in. Docker Compose lets us define all of our services in a configuration file, and with one command it'll spin up all of the containers that we need. The first thing we want to do is make a file called Docker Compose, and I'm going to do this one directory up because this is going to cover all of our services. So it wants to be called docker-compose, and it's a YAML file, so the extension is YML. In this file we...
Okay, so instead we should do Docker compose.yml, so we remove Docker file and we touch Docker.yml.
start by specifying the version of the compose file format. We do version : and we're going to go with 3. Docker has changed a lot in the last few years, and they keep changing the way compose files have to be written. So this doesn't relate directly to the version of Docker Compose that you have installed. This is just the version of the Docker Compose file format that you wish to write in. The latest version...
Okay, so this guy is specified the Docker format of this Docker Compose.
Right now is 3. There are subtle differences between each version. There's no reason not to use the latest one. After this, we specify our services, so we write services : and we'll start with product service. So we give it a name, it can be anything you want. First, we tell Docker Compose what to build, so we use the build property, and we give it a directory containing the Docker Compose file. So the folder is called product. We can see here that we've got the folder called product next to Docker Compose.yml. The directories are relative to where the Docker Compose file is. Next, we can specify volumes, and this is done as a list. So you can have as many as you want. The format is a hyphen, then a space, and then the directory on the host, so your computer, so product, and we want to mount that in /user/source/app. So of course the image when it's built will already have the code inside, but mounting a volume.
Okay, so let's do it here. So we have a version, which is the Docker format. We go version 3, and we have a service. So that means we can have multiple servers, like not just product, maybe have others stuff. So we have products, servers, which reference this product. So we might have logins, servers, authentication servers. Okay, and we can here we build. And it's as a JSA is related to here, so we build products, and we have the use of the volume keywords. Volumes, and it's a list, and we say okay products. So that means we can mount multiple things to the Docker instance. User, source, app. Save.
Volume makes development easier because it'll see live code changes as they happen. We can do the same with ports. It's another list. Our application is listening on port 80, so we want to map something to port 80, so it's the port on the host. We'll use 5001. This can be anything. You could map it to port 80, but it might clash with a web server already installed on your operating system or something else using port 80. Easier just to avoid it. We'll go for 5001 and connect that to port 80 in the container. And that's all we need. This is the stuff that we would have...
Okay, so let's put the port back there. So we have ports. So we do the same thing, 5001 port 18. Save here.
Previously specified in the docker run command, but in a much easier format and saved in a configuration file. To run this, we go back to the terminal and type docker-compose up. Now you obviously want Docker to be running already. I'm assuming you have Docker for Mac or Docker for Windows installed and that app is already open. And as long as we're in the same directory as the Docker Compose file, it'll automatically start the server.
Okay, so do we have Docker Compose? Yes, we do have a Docker Compose. And you can see here's step 1. Actually, interesting. So it's still looking at the Docker file. Okay. That means I need to put it back here. So it's not just for the Docker okay, 这是 the total thing. And okay. So inside the product we still have the Docker file from Python. So it's still to install Python 3 build user source app empty array of commands, Python's API.py. So the Docker file basically you get images and then we copy all the source code. Does it also copy Docker file? I'll just copy these two things and then run it. And Docker Compose is more for the entire apps. And you can see the Docker file doesn't specify any like port number, so it's the port number is managed by the Docker Compose. So this one is more for the coding.
We need. The first thing we do to the verse on Docker sound upload my file for my services. It'll build.
So let's see, does it run it? Docker Compose up. Why scanning for the next token find characters? This guy. His space. Python still bits. Okay. Go again. Okay, so we actually doing stuff. So step one. So in Python.
The images, if necessary. In this case, it's going to download that Python image we found on the Docker Hub. The on-build trigger will run here automatically and install our Flask dependencies. And then finally, it'll run our container. So if we go to a web browser, we can go to localhost 5001. And it works, it gives us our JSON array of products. If we make a change to the product service, let's say we also sold eggs, because we've got the volume mounted, Python sees the change, it detects this and reloads. So now when we refresh, we get eggs as well. Okay, we can press Ctrl+C in the terminal to stop that container. Now we want to build a website which will use this product service. So make a new folder called website. I'm going to write this in PHP. Again, it's going to be very quick and simple. We'll make a file called index.php. We'll add a little bit of PHP tags. This won't work within, so we called it product-container. This will resolve to the product service container. So $JSON will contain that role JSON. So for this we could write a Docker file again, but instead I'm going to demonstrate another way to use Docker Comp.
So you can see here, so basically it's a PHP script. So for that, so it has actually have the whole span. get the JSON, decode JSON, and then you loop it.
Compose. We're going to make a new service called website, and instead of specifying a directory to build with a Docker file inside, we can just use the image property and give it a name of an image. So this could be an image we've built previously ourselves, or it can be an image straight from the Docker Hub. From the previous tutorial, we know that there's a PHP image that we can use, and we want the version that comes with Apache. Next, we want volumes. So with the product service, this was just for convenience because we made a custom image which included the source code. This time we're getting the image straight from the Docker Hub, so it's not going to include our source code, so we need the volume here for anything to happen. So here we want the website folder to go in /var/www/html. Again, this is just dependent on the image that you use. PHP expects it to exist in that directory. Again, we can do ports, port 5000 to map to port 80. And finally, we can use the depends on property. So we know that the website's not going to work unless the product service is running. That call to file get content would just fail. So we can tell Docker Compose that the website depends on the product service. So it just uses this name here. You can list multiple things that a service depends on. So now when we do Docker Compose up, it's going to pull that PHP image.
Okay, so yes, syntax error, yes. So what I need to do is go inside and say API.py. Instead, we should use something like this. So we run the Docker Compose up again. Okay, syntax error because syntax. What's wrong with this guy? Where's this code? Okay, so I'm missing the column here. Interesting. I didn't know Python, so basically it tells you something started, a class started, and then function started, and then you have a column. So then see what happened. So here we have another arrow, so it's kind of same arrow again. Yeah, so basically anything we have a column. Save, do again. Okay, so it's running now. So we go. It's running 5001, and here it is. If we change stuff here, so blah. Okay, you can see a bra here. Okay, so back to the video.
Localhost service called file get content. Because we've got this Docker to be running, all with that 1001 installed, and that app is and that Python go there. We also in turn going to be very expensive this in production implemented. We'll make a file called index.php.
Okay, so we need to make another service called website. So mk website. Inside website, what we have is PHP. So open it inside it.
We'll add a little bit of containing 5,000. The service work for all of the containers. So the code it, set them aside, straight another way.
So you have some simple HTML. Add my shop. So then we have bodies. For this, welcomes. Then there's this. And then we have some PHP code, PHP. JSON file get contents. So HTTP product. So this guy coming from the Docker environment, so I'm not particularly sure. So we have object JSON go JSON products J for each. Products, yes. Products, echo, and then we have product, save.
To use Docker Comp, a name of, and we can use which includes the web directories. That service depends 5,000. Now when we do Docker Compose, we can tell them.
Okay, so what we have here is get it out here, and you can see here on the website we don't even have the Docker file. So, and it seems Jay tried to put all the images, volumes, and pop in the Docker Compose. So maybe you can say you create Docker file say from, then we make it consistent. But let's do it in Docker. The website image. So we get the latest image Apache space S1. So we do website. So it's relative path, and then var, and then HTML. Ports, and also ports, port 18, and depends on products service, which is this guy. Save.
Docker Compose that the website's going to pull that PHP image. Then it'll start them. So it just uses this name here. You can list multiple things that a service depends on. So now when we do Docker Compose up, it's going to pull that.
and Docker compose up. So we're putting PHP Apache.
PHP image. Then it'll start the product service, then it will start the website. So when we go to localhost 5000, it doesn't work. What's gone wrong? We need to pluralize products. Now when we refresh, welcome to my shop, then the PHP.
Okay, so there's this guy. So it's running already. So this error here, which is looking for products. Put S here, and so file counter. This one.
PHP script made a call to the product of Docker class. You obviously can't do Control-C anymore to stop them, but you can in a future video. Which is easy to decode work. Goes up, click on post, and finally email source product on to build a file again. But instead, I'm going to demonstrate another way.
So I think it's this guy. We don't have this. So we don't have mapping. So that means we need to do the real thing. So what we need to do is and we say product service. Campaign. Okay. So, just long link. Actually, I forgot one thing is how does it load? Actually, maybe not this. Let's try this. So copy this guy. And we'll save here. And we say localhost 1001. Show weapon. See. Don't do start again. I don't know how to show this guy. Let's look at the comments.
Hey guys, I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix. With Wix,
So let's do a debugging. So we can see here, so this product service token of 5001 inside. Okay. I have a question about does it roll? Website product service. Starting pose. So this PHP. So it's running the server, sending it to the website. And it's now running. Okay. I don't know. This is how's working. And there's a space here. I don't know what happened. Products and say start here.